All right, I want to bring into the conversation Michael Schnell, MS Now congressional reporter who has been there covering the South Carolina primary. Michael, what happens now since they're heading into a runoff?
Yeah, well, Antonia, it was a sprint to yesterday's election day, and now it's going to be another 2-week sprint to the runoff that's taking place on August 25th. On that day, we'll see Senator Darlene Graham, the sister of the late Senator Lindsey Graham, face off against Congressman Ralph Norman. It comes after Graham finished in first last night with a little over 32% of the vote. Ralph Norman, who's been in Congress since 2017, he finished in second with a hair over 24% of the vote. They'll now go head-to-head on August 25th. And now, in a way, that result was expected. Graham, of course, has the endorsement of President Trump. She also has a last name that is famous here in South Carolina. And Norman, on the other hand, is fresh off of a run for governor. So for months, he had been crisscrossing the state, meeting voters and talking to them about their concerns. But even though, in a way, this outcome was expected, there are still a number of questions about just how August 25th will shake out. First off, where do the supporters of the other candidates go? There were 10 Republicans running in this race, a very crowded field. It's unclear where voters for Russell Fry, the congressman from here in South Carolina, and Mark Sanford, the former governor, where their supporters will go. Fry was also running as a MAGA candidate. Sanford was running as more of an independent moderate. So if those candidates send their voters anywhere, that'll be interesting to see. The other question is, what's the potency of Trump, the Trump factor here? Yes, Darlene Graham, who had the president's endorsement, did come in first, but not by a large margin. It was similar to a scenario we saw that played out in the governor's race just a few weeks ago. So what is the potency of President Trump here in South Carolina? And the third question, can Darlene Graham seal the deal here? Yes, she did come in first, but more than 60% of Republican voters sided with a candidate other than her, in part because they didn't think she had any political experience. Now, I can tell you, Darlene Graham is keenly aware of this criticism and concern. I spoke to her at her election night HQ last night, and she said, yes, I'm not a politician, guilty as charged, but I understand the stakes here. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be crisscrossing the state, speaking to voters and listening to their concerns. So again, this is a sprint to August 25th. We'll see how that shakes out. But another 2 weeks of campaigning and listening to candidates here in South Carolina.
Well, Michael, how serious do you think the resume issue is going to be for Darlene Graham because of her lack of experience? And in recent weeks, I mean, reporters have described actually having trouble getting her to answer some simple questions about where she stands on important issues.
Yeah, it's certainly her number one vulnerability, Antonia. And look, we're talking about a Senate seat in South Carolina. These things don't open up every day. For Republicans, this is a dream. For Republican politicians, the ability to run for this seat. So there is this concern among voters, among some of those other candidates, that she doesn't have the experience and is just being handed this seat. Now, yes, she had not been answering questions in Washington. Myself in the Capitol had tried to ask her about a number of things. She did not respond, but she has been taking questions on the campaign trail. I did speak to her the past 3 days at various stops, and she has a polished message and a polished response to this question about experience. She says, yes, I'm not a politician, guilty as charged, but that's one of my strengths, the fact that I understand and I'm keenly aware of the concerns of South Carolinians and I can address them. Given that, I am just a regular person. But voters here are split on that. I've heard from some voters, one yesterday who voted for Mark Sanford, who said she just couldn't get behind Darlene Graham because she doesn't have a proven track record of being able to get things done in Washington. I spoke to another supporter in South Carolina who said, I'm voting for Graham because she is one of me. She is a regular person and she'll shake up things in Washington. So yes, it's her number one vulnerability, but Darlene Graham seems to think she has an answer to it. Again, the voters will be deciding whether or not it works on August 25th.
You know, our viewers couldn't see it, but Evan was shaking his head for some of those voter examples that Michael just walked us through.
Michael's reporting was so great right there. I mean, she's a regular person just like me. You mean like the sister of a famous senator handpicked by the president to take over that seat? I mean, that's what really has to happen here is how much does Trump want to get involved in this race? That's what it is. Ralph Norman, you know, he endorsed Nikki Haley in 2024 or 2020. Yeah, 4, right? Whatever time that was. And so, you know, does Trump want to sort of put his hand in there and really try to press the pedal for Darlene Graham? We don't know yet, but that's really what she needs. That's really what it comes down to. And if she can sell this Regular People Act, I mean, that's pretty great.
Well, what do you make of the story of experience and the importance of resumes at this point? Because on the one hand, like, you think traditionally they do matter. On the other hand, we've had plenty of examples in recent years where the relevant experience has been lacking.
Sure. Yeah. Or even an advantage for a candidate. Right.
Yeah.
I think that this was not a good result for Graham. She did have the president's endorsement. She is technically the sitting senator right now. She only got a third of the vote. 2/3 of the vote, as Michael said, went against her, right? And those people are going to go somewhere. I'm not sure that Donald Trump putting his foot on the gas is going to be as big an asset as it has been in the past. South Carolina is a different sort of state. It is a red state. It's a very red state, definitely. It is not as MAGA-y as some other red states. And we also have a situation where Donald Trump himself is seeing softening support from Republicans. It used to be that when he talked to Republicans, do you approve of the job he's doing strongly or somewhat strongly? I strongly approve. A lot more saying somewhat now, a lot less enthusiasm about Donald Trump and his presidency now. And it is not necessarily the case that he carries that same stamp. We've seen already races in the primary cycle where his endorsed candidate has not gotten across the finish line. If I'm Graham, I'm a little stressed.
I think that's right, but that is her strategy. If you watch her talk, every third word is Donald Trump endorsed me. So they have to make good on that if they want to make it work as well.
Right. Well, that's Mike Lawler's approach up in Westchester County, too. That's right. Every Republican's doing it, in part because the Republican they have no other message to give to Republican voters besides I stand with Trump.
And I keep worrying in my head or thinking about in my head, if that endorsement doesn't pay off, what does that mean? Does it hasten Donald Trump's lame duck status? I don't know. We'll see.
That's a great question.
We'll see. Michael Schnell, thank you so much for your work on the ground.